Hi, this is Sara Wallis. I'm TV columnist at the Daily Mirror. I'm with Nicola Methven, TV editor at the Mirror. We are two very confused TV critics, reeling after last night's Line of Duty episode. Should we dig into what happened? Should we start at the beginning? Should we start with the fact that Kate survived? Holy Mother of God. Thank God our favourite hasn't been killed off straight away.
That was nice, wasn't it? At least we knew that straight away. But we had to, because they had a whole episode to get through. But did you think it was weird? So we all went, hooray, she's alive. And then she immediately sort of ran away with the woman that had just lured her to be murdered, which just seemed like a very odd thing to do. I thought.
And they went a bit Thelma and Louise, didn't they? And I didn't get that at all. Maybe someone can enlighten us. I think that made her look guilty. And
it did make her look guilty.
I only wonder whether she thought, if I can get away from Carmichael's interfering with the chain of command, and get information out of Joe, then I can get to the bottom of the case away from whatever's happening in AC12. But it made her look guilty, and I don't understand why she fled. It was
presumably, do you think it's because, so it's probably that the Carmichael thing was definitely a factor, but also was she still questioning Ted and on what was going on there, and Steve had sort of told her that stuff about the money and everything, so suddenly you just don't know who to trust. You've got to make a run for it with the woman who's just tried to kill her. She didn't actually try to kill her, but clearly she was saying, sorry, you're about to be bumped off to her many times. Sorry,
I think we just I think they just wanted to leave her in Vicky McClure's badass driving skills, mainly.
I honestly think that was why they, we wanted to see some handbrake turns.
Yeah, exactly.
Hollywood for a second, and then you just think, oh, I just liked it when they got back into Steve's flat and they opened the locker and it all felt a bit more normal again.
I know, but did you notice Vicky McClure's like Sinead O'Connor single tear rolling down her face when she thought Steve had framed her to be set up?
She really did seem to believe that. And then when he walked over and said, look, mate, I don't know anything about it, she was like, oh, fine, okay then. I mean, they
let's move on.
Quite a lot. And then it was all very I couldn't follow her thought process at the same pace that I needed to know what was going on, really.
Yeah, it's been a very tiring series. We're all exhausted. So there's lots of things to talk about. I mean, where should we start?
Let's start. I want to know. My big question is, who is Joe Davidson's dad? I'm obsessed with this. Who? She's got this dad who she now knows that Tommy Hunter's her actual dad, so that must have come as a massive surprise. But she clearly had been told that somebody else was her dad, because we heard that conversation between Kate and Steve. And she'd said that it was, and unless it was not true, but let's assume it is, that it's a policeman. So now we know that someone that we know is going to turn out to be the person who thought was her dad, and probably has been using that as some sort of influence, possibly. So you've got to think age-wise, who are the contenders? Ted, Osborne, or this mysterious Thurwell who is now dead anyway? And only appeared as a photo fit, unless there's going to be. Do you think Jimmy Nesbitt is going to be like some massive in the last one? Is it some flashback? It can't be, because we just don't know about him.
If he had appeared only in that photo, that is the most anticlimactic cameo from James Nesbitt that anyone has ever seen. I mean, we've been told he's dead, so if that was that. But lots of people I've been looking at Twitter. Lots of people think he isn't really dead. Or even that the guy, the Spanish guy, was Jimmy Nesbitt. That's another fan theory, that the guy who said, "Senor Thurwell."
I don't know. All I know is, if you were Jed Mercurio and you're thinking, who can we have as a, if he's just going to be a photo fit, and that picture of him supposedly in Spain that was shot in Belfast Harbour, apparently, why would you make it Jimmy Nesbitt? Surely that's quite. I assume they have to pay him. I mean, you could do it cheaper.
But we all got really excited. That is why.
Is it a joke? Is it a funny thing? Because James Nesbitt had once said in an interview that he was gutted that he'd never been asked to be in it. So I mean, I can't see how the last one's going to involve. You can't, if this is tying up the whole series, you can't then introduce a new character as something major that we don't, because we just don't know.
Do we think that Thurwell? Do we think that Thurwell is not only Joe Davidson's real dad, who was the bank copper who she's been liaising with in Spain? We know the IP address was Spain. Yeah. So do we think that he's her real dad? She said no comment every time something was actually true, didn't she?
Anything, any times that there was, it was, we need those answers, don't we? I mean, she's got a lot of knowledge in that head of hers that we would like to know.
Yes, but we've got to get to her before the violent prison warden breaks her neck or something. So there's not much time. But who do we think is H is the big question, because I think that the way Joe Davidson behaved in that interrogation, she thinks there isn't. When he said, "Is there a fourth man? Is he running the show?" She did that. Oh, no comment. So I think there is a fourth person.
Yeah, I think we have to think there is a fourth person. Otherwise, what are we doing here? And what's he doing here? But is it Carmichael, who now is such a sort of pantomime villain? That would just be too much. I love to hate her, and I think her acting's brilliant, and she's a great character. But I don't want her to be H. But then she seems to be very protective of Osborne. Like she and Osborne are in this together, aren't they? He's the big chief. He's been stuck in here to throw AC-12 off course and all of that. So I'm still hoping that my theory that Osborne is the very top of the police is going to be the ultimate baddie. That's my theory. And everything else.
Look, Sharon Griffin's written in, Carmichael has to be in on it all. She could be, or she could just be a total Jobsworth. We've all met these Jobsworths.
He could have promised her promotions beyond belief, or she could be like Buckles but clever and just be driven by her career to the point that she's motivated to protect Osborne, but not because she's in on it, but because she's a Jobsworth, as you say. I mean, it's possible.
So prospects for H, we've got Hastings. It can't be Hastings, because surely now
that would ruin the whole thing.
I don't even want to entertain the idea. Carmichael, Buckles, too much of an idiot, I think.
Too much of an idiot. Carmichael, I mean, look, she could definitely be in on it, but would she actually be H? I don't think so.
There was another theory that Chloe is dodgy, who's the newcomer.
God, no. Chloe, again, I feel like
is related. Hang on, she's related to Tony Gates, Lenny James's character, because he had a daughter called Chloe, apparently.
Oh really? Oh my God!
I don't think
it can't be related to people that were in earlier series. It's just it's too. It's too. But we need to know who Joe's related to. We need to know, obviously, who is H. We need to absolutely clarify that Ted is not a bent copper.
Yeah.
See, it's weird when we were watching that brilliant long interview scene that ran for ages. You're looking at Joe Davidson, and she's just so good. But every time she spoke, she threw up more questions, and then you were just so there's lots of theories that this is possibly going to be the last series, and then there's other theories that there'll be one more. What do you think?
I definitely think there has to be one more, and I think they're going to announce the 7th series at 10 p.m. on Sunday, just as we're all left on a cliffhanger screaming with lots. I think we'll get lots of answers, but there will be a few questions hanging. So Sal's written in, there's no way they're going to just have a photo of Jimmy Nesbitt and not have him in the show. He is the man who masqueraded as Joe's dad. He's H. He's manipulating Carmichael and or Osborne. It's a very good theory.
It could be. It could be, because I mean, if it turns out to be him and he's not dead, or even if he is dead, he still could have been.
Yeah.
But it's just that we only popped up 2 minutes ago, so it's hard to think about him.
He must be laughing, James Nesbitt, watching the fans go mad over his little EFIT popping up, and that's it.
Well, look, he could obviously. So the only way, if it was him dying, it would all need to be in flashbacks, and I don't know how they'd work that out. But maybe.
Should we talk about the buried bodies?
Yes. So they're going to dig up where were they at when we left them? They were about to start digging up the floor of the printworks to see what's under there. There's going to be something.
There's definitely going to be something. But who could it be that would be buried, or lead would it give us, depending on what they find?
Honestly, I just can't think of anyone else that. I mean, are there people who've been? Are their bodies missing? Everybody else we know, John Corbett, everyone that's been killed, their bodies have been found, haven't they, along the way? But there probably is. There probably is.
Unless there's a lead. I mean, some people think that Lomax is a bit fishy as well. There was a brilliant frosty interaction between him and Steve. Oh, Ellen Jones has asked, who do you think H is?
Well, because the thing is, H can't. Well, H could be Osborne, but then you sort of think that H is going to be a criminal who's liaising with the police and making them do, so it's less likely to be an actual police person, but somebody from outside. Right. My answer to that is I don't know, but I'm Thurwell, I suppose, is the most obvious one because he's in Spain and it's coming from Spain.
Yeah.
But I'm so used to doubting everything now as a red herring that I can't. I mean, there's no one else in Spain, so
there's a funny theory I saw this morning where some viewers have noticed that in the interrogation, passive-aggressive Pat, tapped with her pen 4 times, which is Morse code for H, which I think is a bit of a stretch, but I'm just throwing it out there. Well, and I'm reading another one. Can you see this? Janine said, if you take the name Carmichael and cross out the letters race claim, you are left with the letter H. Because there was a line where they said, check out the race claim, which is the Lawrence Christopher case that they've been looking into.
Yeah.
But that's just Jed playing.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that they could do. Or equally, it could be nothing to do with it. So, Lomax, we don't know if I think he's probably fine. And the reason he was frosty with Steve is just because of the AC-12 MIT thing.
Yeah.
Talking of Steve, that whole sort of subplot about Steve being, at any minute they're going to just tell him he can't work anymore because he's got these painkillers in his system. Yeah. Where's that going? I mean, is that?
This is what I think is there's been a lot of chat about the fact that this series is going to see the demise of one of the main characters, meaning Ted Hastings, Kate Fleming, or Steve Arnott. So I wonder if they've been teasing, Steve could go, whether he's either killed off or suspended because of this drugs problem. Then we've had Vicky McClure's character Kate possibly was going to get killed off in the last episode, but now she's fine. And now I think it's pointing towards maybe Ted Hastings is going to go. I don't know
how. Because they'll make him go through with that retirement thing. Well, unless he's arrested or something.
Yeah. Or what if he's killed in the line of duty? Mother of God, Jesus, Mary, and the wee donkey.
And the wee donkey. That was so funny when that happened. Somebody just wrote there about Jo looking scared in the interview, and the reason why she said no comment all the time. And then there was that brilliant, meaningful stare at Carmichael when she said, "Did you kill blah blah?" And she said, "No." And you sort of think, well, is that because she's intimidated by Carmichael and she knows her links to the OCG, and that's why she. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot for her to take in. She just found out that her uncle was her dad, and she looked very upset, and plausibly so. I thought. I mean,
yes, I thought that was genuine.
Yeah. Yeah, if she turns out to be some Machiavellian person that's managed to lie throughout, then my head will just explode, frankly.
Yeah, well, that's how I felt about. There was that emotional moment with Ted in the lift, wasn't there, where he had a little bit of a breakdown, and then that for me is another of the genuine. I think, unless I'm completely naive, another genuine moment where he does genuinely seem distressed, like Jo seemed genuinely surprised about the whole incest thing. I think Ted is genuinely devastated.
He looks devastated that he's running out of time, and that it's so close now. He knows it's within his grasp, and they're going to force him to leave. He basically can see them winning in that brilliant line that he said about sometimes you don't lose, you just run out of time. And yeah, he thinks that they're going to get away with it because he'll be retired off and won't be able to do anything about it anymore.
Maybe then we can have a Ted Hastings comedy spin-off. Maybe in sipping a cocktail in Spain.
Or going, this is the life. Yeah, yeah. Well, have we covered? Who else do we need to? What about Kate? I mean, is she seemed to be afterwards? She seemed remarkably fine, didn't she? When she met Steve in the car park.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, do you want to talk about it?" She was like, "No, I'm fine. I'll drive."
Yeah, and then she said, "Let's get this job done," and we all cheered because Kate and Steve were back together.
But do you think that I mean, to me, there's so much that still needs tying up, because we still, all of that stuff about Lee Banks and Steph Corbett and the money involving Ted, that look when Lee Banks, all of that needs to be surely we need to be shown again that Ted was just doing it because he felt bad about, but we still don't really understand that whole thing with Lee Banks, do we? The fact that he was the one that exposed John Corbett as a rat, and which was basically what got him killed potentially.
I wonder if these things have been written just to make us harbour a little bit of suspicion about Ted Hastings all the way through. I wonder if that's why that's been there, just to keep us, not completely convinced about Ted, even though the whole nation will need intense therapy if he's a bent copper. But
I know he can't be a bent copper because he's spent so long. See, so is Jo Davidson? So she's admitting that she's been, all these things that she's done, like setting up Buckles and all the things that and Farida and all the other things she confessed to. But then she says, "I'm not bent," and you think, well, what makes it? I mean, you're literally working against your fellow colleagues. So that to some people is enough. Well, you're a bent copper. But what she means is, I guess, that she's not as bent as she could be, or she's not as bent as they might think she is.
Yes, she hasn't got the malintent, maybe.
No, she only does what she's absolutely forced to do, but most of the time, she's just doing normal police work, but occasionally she'll stitch somebody up.
Set them up for murder. I don't feel sorry for her in the slightest. She did lead Kate to her death with a kind of feeble, "I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Brought you to a gun duel in the middle of the night in a dodgy lorry park."
No, true. But then I actually did feel sorry for her in that interview when.
Oh, I didn't.
You didn't. So maybe I don't know how we're supposed to. I don't know whether she's going to come out as a much darker character than we've realised, or actually quite innocent, that we feel sorry for her and her terrible, terrible background of being made to do things with Tommy Hunter and whoever her dad is.
I don't understand, while we're on that point, why you would throw something at the photo of yourself and your mother unless there was a bad relationship with your mother, because if her mum's committed suicide, she loved her mum and it was all terrible. I understand that she was frustrated, but if that's a photo of someone you love, why would you throw something at the photo?
Maybe she wasn't throwing it at her mum. She was sort of throwing it at Uncle Tommy, but she hasn't got a photo of Uncle Tommy. Thinking of Tommy, I'm sure she loved her mum, didn't she? Because that's the thing that, that's part of the reason why I felt sorry for her when she sat there. Okay. You think she's, her life's been thrown off course by organised crime, let's say. And
you're much nicer than I am. I just send her to prison, see what happens.
As soon as she went into prison and that pair turned up, and you think, oh my God, is it possible to go into prison and not be killed in the first?
No.
For them, no, apparently. Or I mean, that was so obvious, and they must be on the camera. I just say, how can there be prison guards that murder people that are still working? I mean, why aren't these people?
Because of the network of corruption that's everywhere, and it's infiltrated everything. And I think that's, I don't know. Somebody's asked, will there be another episode on Sunday? There is. It's the finale next Sunday. What is your bet what would you say is going to happen next Sunday?
Gould. I think. Look, I always think that our trio, our main trio, I want them to emerge unscathed. I want Steve to be okay, and for the occupational health people to leave him alone. I want him back to get better miraculously.
Okay.
And I don't want any of them to be tainted by any of this. But for the rest of it, you know, I don't really know. What do you think? Let me throw it back at you.
I don't think you're going to get everything you want in that. No, I think.
You think Ted's going to die? No.
Yeah, I think something's going to happen to Ted. I think Ted is the one, whether he leaves or is somehow killed off or walks away, I think that will be the cliffhanger, that Ted is gone. I would like to think that we won't have to wait another series to find out who H is. So I'm hoping that on Sunday, H will be revealed.
And that'll be Thurwell in Spain, whether he's dead or alive.
I think so, and I think maybe he isn't really dead. That's my theory.
Yeah.
Although I did think he was dead yesterday, so you know, I've changed my mind.
And what about Carmichael? I one way or another. See, my overall theory is that Osborne's the baddie in the police, and and if he's pulling the strings of her strings, they have to be somehow exposed, I think, in the next episode.
Yeah.
But I think there's too much to explain in one episode, but can this be strung out for a whole 7th series in 2 years' time? Because it always takes them a long time. It
always takes 2 years. The thing is, even if that happens, we'll all still be watching, won't we? There'll still be 15 million of us.
Unless they've turned Ted into a bent copper, then I'm never watching again.
Fair enough.
How will I do my job? Well, I don't know.
Right, well, shall we resume this time next week? Hopefully we'll have some answers.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go and place our bets now. I'm going to put some money on something.
All right, see you next week.
See you next week.